Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Hi, I'm Betsy Barbieux, and this is CAM Matters. A lot of you write and ask me questions. Some of you find me on the Journal magazine. Some of you find me on YouTube. Others of you just Google and find me somehow. And I love your questions, so I'm going to address some of those today and keep them coming. I really do like them. Here's one from Beth that says, I come to you again with a question. I often have repeat questioners. If 5 of my 9 board members are up north, do they get to weigh in on issues that cost money? This is not an actual board meeting, as no meetings occur in the summer. So can absent board members vote by email, telephone, text on expenditures? Do they have any say-so? If not, then there's only one board member running the show during the summer. Well, Beth, you're not alone. Most board members in Florida, or I'm not going to say most, maybe half the board members in Florida go north for the summer. So the legislators have taken that into account, and years ago added to the statute that board members can meet by speaker telephone. And those who attend by speaker telephone are counted as being present and can vote and discuss whatever is being discussed at the meeting. Now, mind you, that was the only technology that was available when the law was written. So since then, the legislators have added that board members may meet by video conferencing or real-time electronic video conferencing, which brings it more up to date with our modern technology. Very often, there's one board member left in the summer, and they're the ones who are seeing the things that need to be done, that there's extra work that needs to be done on the pool, there's extra work that needs to be done on the lawn, or the building has some minor structural repairs that need to be made. My belief would be that if there is money budgeted for extra pool repairs, building repairs, lawn upgrades, irrigation repairs, if there's money budgeted for that, the manager should be able to spend that without a board vote. There could be other policies and procedures that the board has put into place, but I have several little communities that the board members go north for the summer and leave one on site and they've delegated to that board member to make the decisions. That might be an option for you. Other thing that the legislators have said is that board members may talk by email, but they may not vote by email. And I'm going to assume they mean you cannot vote by text or verbally out in the yard, that you can't vote. Voting needs to be done at a meeting, and board members can attend by electronic video conferencing if they're not on site. The problem is that when board members meet to talk or talk by email, owners will mistake that as a meeting. And I think we might have overshot the intent of the legislators, and this is just my opinion. I'm not an attorney, so it's just my opinion. But I think that if board members are on site and a vendor has done some work and the board members go out and stand around and look at a hole or look at a paint job or look at a patching of concrete or asphalt, I don't think that's a board meeting. I think they're just looking at work that was done. They just should not be discussing. I think what the legislators have said is they really don't want board members gathering over here in a little group or over there in a little group and pre-planning what they're going to say and how they're going to vote at the next board meeting. That seems to be what the division of condominiums doesn't like to hear, is that the actions of the board have been pre-planned. So as long as your board has a policy as to who is running the show, as you say, during the summer, and there's a clear understanding of how much money over and above a budgeted line item that board member can spend, I don't see a problem with one board member calling the shots. I have another question here, which kind of is similar. This is from Robin, and she is asking, do you happen to have any CAM Matters shows about board meetings being available by Zoom? My board doesn't want to offer Zoom for the snowbirds and those who work. The board meeting minutes do not provide nearly the same amount of information for the owners who could not attend. Well, Robin, there really aren't any guidelines for the membership meetings or board meetings using Zoom. A lot of membership meetings were done by Zoom during COVID, and a lot of communities have continued offering Zoom for membership meetings and or a hybrid of in-person and Zoom. The same with board meetings. So membership meetings and board meetings, some are still doing a hybrid of both. The minutes, that's the part that caught me in your question, was the minutes not having enough information. Minutes are not an informational meeting for the owners. Let me say that a different way. Board meetings are not informational meetings for the owners. Board meetings are business meetings for the board members. That means then the minutes will only have in them the business that was conducted. There's no conversation recorded in the minutes. Minutes should never be in first person. Minutes should never include any personal comments of whoever typed them. You really shouldn't have 45 pages of minutes, which I know one community did. They sent me their minutes before I went down to meet with them, and it was 45 pages of minutes because the secretary had transcribed every word that was said at the meeting. That is not what minutes are. Minutes are a record of the business. So all you would have in the minutes would be who's present, the date, time, and place, what time it started, that a quorum was present. Now I'm talking about a board meeting. Somewhere in there you would note that owners' comments were heard, but you don't record any of the owners' comments. You don't put owners' names, unit numbers, anything like that. Just the fact that you did have an opportunity to take owners' comments. And again, this is not an informational meeting for the owners. So board members need to be sitting at a round table or a square table, which means some board members may have their back to the owners. Some owners find that disrespectful or rude, but you have to remember the meeting is not for the owners. The meeting is for the board. Therefore, the minutes will reflect the business of the board. So it will have the motions. The first motion is usually to accept the minutes of the previous board meeting, and then from there you could have that discussion was had by the board members regarding, let's say, the replacement of the pool heaters, no action taken. It could be that they talked about the pool heaters, but they didn't do anything. You're not going to put the conversation that they had. If they made a decision, the decision would be noted as a motion. So you would say that the board members discussed the replacement of the pool heaters on motion made by Ralph and seconded by Sally. The following was unanimously approved, resolved that the replacement of the pool heaters in the amount of $7,000 is hereby approved. That's all you would put about the pool heaters. If the board decided they needed more information and asked the manager to get more information from those who submitted the estimates, then you would put that notation in the minutes, and that becomes an action item. So now the manager knows that he has something to do. I think at this point we will take a break, and I'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Well, welcome back. We are talking about questions and answers. Those questions that you have sent to me one way or another, and I am going over some of those with you today. I have another one here from Ted. He says, I'm a board member of a small co-op. Our board followed the lease article for a transfer of a share and an assignment of lease, which was recently interpreted by the association attorney. The CAM privately called the board president to tell him what we did was illegal. This set board members in a state of panic before the board had a chance to consult with the association attorney. My question is a CAM qualified to tell a board member that something being done is illegal? Well, that's a loaded question. CAMs are not supposed to give legal advice, period. However, all of our training is in the law. So it's kind of hard to advise a board that a course of action may be proper or improper without having the appearance of saying legal or illegal. I don't know whether your CAM gave legal or illegal information. It may have been improper, but it sounds like your attorney settled the issue anyway. Just on a side note, it's really hard for us CAMs because there's a fine line between giving advice and giving legal advice. There are so many things that I say and do that could be challenged as legal advice when I'm just quoting the statute. But some would say that even finding and knowing the statute and quoting it is giving legal advice. So all I can say is I'm not an attorney. And in this case, Ted, it looks like you already got the answer from your attorney. I have another short one here from Steve. He is saying, can we use the interest earned on the reserve CDs to reduce the money out of operating to fund the reserves? Well, first of all, Steve, interest stays with each reserve line item. So the money that you have allocated and have saved for paving, that interest that's being generated there stays with paving. Interest generated for the paint stays with paint. Interest generated from the swimming pool fund stays with pool. As far as the interest goes, it stays with the reserve item. What you do with those funds should be a board policy of investment. So whether you're investing them in a money market or a CD, I even have some communities that are using the fixed annuities to earn some more interest. Right now, CDs are earning a lot of interest. So it would be best for your board to create an investment policy as to the signatures on those investments, the amounts of the investments. And when your investments reach the $250,000 FDIC limit, if you use a bank that caters to association services and has a whole association services department, they can offer you programs such as the CDARS programs, so that all of your money, even if it's a couple of $1 million, can stay in one bank, and you don't have to spread the money around all the banks in the county. It can stay in one bank and reduce your bookkeeping and your reconciliation of your bank accounts. So thank you, Steve, for that question. Have another one here from Helen, She is asking two questions. This goes back to meetings and Zoom. She's saying, if our bylaws specifically say that our annual meeting is to be held on December 1st, must we have a shareholder approval to change the date or hold the meeting on a different date? And then she's asking, can an annual meeting be held by Zoom only? If your bylaws say that your annual meeting is to be held on December 1st, if it states a date in there, then your meeting needs to be held on December 1st. Some bylaws don't give that specific. They'll just say as determined by the board. Others will say things like third Tuesday of November of each year. And then some of them, what I'm seeing, they say 7 p.m. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm in bed by 7 p.m. The only way really that you can change that is as to amend the bylaws, which means a shareholder vote in your case, Helen, since you're a co-op. The Zoom only, that would be also a board policy as to whether the membership meeting can be by Zoom. It's really not too hard to do a membership meeting by Zoom because all voting is done ahead of time on a limited proxy. So there's not really, you don't have to figure out how to vote on Zoom because co-ops are required to do all voting on a limited proxy. And if you're having an election, all of that procedure is accomplished using a ballot. So I didn't find it hard to do membership meetings and elections on Zoom during COVID. And that might still be a good option for some communities, especially if you have a large number of investors and they're not on site. It might be a good way for you to do the meetings. So thank you, Helen, for that one. And I have one more here. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. This is from Linda. It says, one of our HOA board members abstained from voting at a recent meeting without any conflict of interest reason. As per your direction, during your director's certification course, a board member may only abstain if there's a direct conflict of interest, not just because they want to sit on the fence. I mentioned this in the meeting. He challenged it, so our president sought advice from our current CAM, and the current CAM said the same thing that I said. So here's what I said to Linda. Our community's board members have a fiduciary relationship to the owners. In any other regular corporation, board members only have the prudent man rule. They're to act the way an ordinary person in a like position would act. But our statutes have elevated our board members from a prudent person to a fiduciary. And because of that, our statutes require that every board member present vote, and that the vote of each board member is recorded in the minutes. If it was not a unanimous vote, then you should note that the motion passed by a majority vote with Betsy and Larry voting no. So you need to be able to distinguish who voted for and who voted against. Abstentions, then, in our communities are only for conflicts of interest. And that conflict of interest, we probably already know. Board members know themselves. They know each other. We probably already know that Ralph over here has a conflict of interest with the topic being discussed because he's related to the vendor. Ralph should abstain at the beginning of that topic. So when that agenda item comes up, Ralph should say, I'm abstaining because I'm related to the vendor being discussed. That is written into the minutes. Now, Ralph is not going to talk. He may even temporarily leave the table while the discussion is going on, but Ralph may not speak from that point on. But what happens is that Ralph, apologize if somebody has the name Ralph, Ralph is going on and on and on and on and on about this topic, and he's getting angrier and angrier, and you can tell because he's got veins that are about to pop. And as the discussion goes around with the board, and as the owners are permitted their 3-minute each comment to the topic, he realizes that he is not in the popular position. Eventually, there's a motion and a second, and now there's a call for the vote. And Ralph chickens out. He rears back in his chair, folds his arms, and says, "I abstain." Ralph, you cannot abstain. You don't have a conflict of interest. The statutes say that each board member present is presumed to have assented, agreed, to the action taken unless he or she votes no. There's only a yes or a no. So Ralph, unless you tell me no in 3, 2, 1, record his vote as a yes, please. That's what should happen to Ralph. He cannot vote present, whatever that is, and he cannot abstain without an asserted, known, stated, written into the minutes conflict of interest. So thank you, Linda, for that. Oh, okay, one more. This is from Mary Ann. She says, I have a question. A resident has demanded to see the management company's records in reference to employees' safety practices while working on the job. Are these records protected under Chapter 720? Mary Ann, I don't think any management company employee records or policies are, or any other company records are available to the owners. My understanding is that it's only the official records of the association that are open to the owners. And here's where I'm going to say you might double check with your attorney. If an association employs employees, then there are written safety procedures. Those records would be available. My understanding is if there are no written records, you don't have to create written records. You can't produce records that don't already exist. And by that, what I mean is if an owner says, I want a spreadsheet of all of the Duke Energy bills for the last 24 months. Well, if that spreadsheet does not already exist, management is under no obligation to create one. What you will do is give the owner access to the 24 months of invoices, and they can make a spreadsheet. But I really don't think any of the management company's records are available. What is available from the association is the management agreement and salary related to that, or the employment agreement of your professional CAM and that salary information, whatever's budgeted for either of those. So thank you, Mary Ann, for that. And if you have other questions and would like me to answer them in writing or on the show, please write me at betsy@floridacamschools.com or give me a call, 352-326-8365. And thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.